Hey, Adam.
Awesome. C'est bien, monsieur, mon ami.
Très bien. Et vous?
I know you are, of course, in Toronto, so also for most of your Canadian business life. So I don't need to speak French and English, do I?
No, we were mostly English speaking where we come from.
Oh yeah, and most my closest friends, my longest, closest friends are both in Toronto. I have a bunch of friends in Toronto.
Toronto's a great city. Did you ever go up there yourself to visit it?
Many, many, many times. I've been to
Oh,
Toronto as many times as you have.
really? Wow.
No,
Um,
not, I doubt that very much. I have a great, I actually, I was thinking, and this just occurred to me, I should have occurred to me before. Can we do like a short, like 5+ minute version? And then we can kind of do a little longer one too, because I was realizing I'm at the radio station where, the Stewart House advertises, and we could actually do like a little bit of a Stewart House and promote the book
cool.
interview for the radio station. I could just put it on like which would, just because you're an advertiser with us, this is like something that's like a little perk that will give. I'll put an interview with you on my radio show, which is I'm on 10 to 3 weekdays.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'd appreciate that. We always appreciate any support, and
Of course.
we
And you could
love.
talk about what you're doing at the Stewart House, during the summer with the grill and the bar still open, and then, what anything else you want, and then the music, and
Yeah,
that would be great.
it's terrific. I can fire up and answer think or give ideas there. Uh,
Okay. All right. And
Let
is
me know start.
what's that?
You just let me know when you want to start, and I'll get
I'm ready.
going.
I'm about ready. I just want to know, what is your owner, or are you and Lois co-owners? How does it work? So I refer it correctly.
Well, Lois and I met back in
Well, don't
1971.
tell me the whole story yet, because I want to do this the official way. But I just wanted to know, for if when I introduce you,
Yes, Lois and I
what.
are co-owners of the Stewart House.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we
All right.
came in there. We bought it 1 week after we sold Webster Hall. She got
Unbelievable.
me paralyzed from the ass up, and I just went along and bought that with her, and I've enjoyed every second of it ever since.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. It was kind of like, after we were at Webster Hall for nearly 30 years. So you become kind of ingrained to a particular way of doing things in the city and the pace and the energy. And when that stopped, it was like, whoa, we knew we weren't going to be going to Florida to play golf and drink cocktails, rail against the government. we were going to have fun. We had lots of room left on the runway, and we thought, well, we'll just go up to that. We went. I thought we were going for a drive up into the Hudson Valley to have a look at a little farm. And I thought, well, yeah, I was raised on a farm, so that might not be so bad. And then she made a little right turn, and we went down, and we saw that little, those big, beautiful weeping willows that looked over the Hudson, and the crowd and the locals were so, you know, funny and interesting, and we thought, oh. And then we heard it was for sale. So we looked at each other. We bought it right there and then on the spot. I'd never even heard of Athens. I didn't know it even existed. But
Yeah.
we have been really pleased with our decision. And maybe, how you do something, but maybe it isn't all that like crazy because you're ready, and and we came from a small town, so it was it wasn't like, oh wow, this is crazy. It was like, I get it, and I like it, and I want to be part of it. So we decided that, but we didn't look at each other. And I remember saying to my wife, Lois, this is for fun. This isn't for, we don't have to put the kids through college, and we don't have to worry and stress about every little nickel that's coming in or not coming in. So let's just come up here and enjoy ourselves. And I know she had that mindset too. So we kind of came up with an idea that it was a palette, the paint, and for us to still be able to, when you're in the businesses like the nightclub and music business, it's a creative business. You're always trying to make it better and see if you can make it a little more interesting, and you're doing it for yourself, but you're also doing it for
It's
people.
also a business.
Sure, it's like writing a book. Writing a book was for me was kind of like an artist making a CD or an album. It was or an artist writing a play. It was meant to just to keep expressing yourself. You do it and you hope people like it. That's
Yeah.
that
Well,
whole thing.
you're
And all
talking
the
about your book, Party Boys, how the
yeah,
Ballinger brothers built the best, a lot of alliteration in there, by the way, how the Ballinger brothers built the best nightclub in the world. Party Boys, right there. Yeah,
that's
I don't know if you knew, I ended up buying a copy.
holy shit. I did
Yeah,
not know.
I ended up buying a copy because I was just enjoying it so much. I thought, let me get a copy. I want to support my friend Lon Ballinger too. And
Appreciate it. Thanks, Adam.
you want to know what happened?
What?
When I bought the book, I accidentally bought two unknowingly. I got two copies. So I own two copies. So I'm going to give one to a friend. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
Well, I'm very thankful that you did. It always makes you, it was kind of like when I ran the nightclub business. I never really cared about the money so much. The only thing I ever really cared about was, did anybody come? How
yeah,
many came? That was the
yeah,
most important thing to me, because that was like the litmus test. So it's just probably the same thing. You buy a couple of books, and it's
yeah.
not the money. It's about, oh, somebody liked it. Somebody's going to read.
Sure. But
Oh, and
you had a chance with the Stewart House, not to say it isn't a business which requires a lot of your attention, a lot of your focus, a lot of your money, maybe. And you could have tried to at least slow everything else down, but instead, because obviously you have certain compulsions, it's clear to me, you went and wrote a book. Like you compiling all the work with yet more. I think this is something that my assumption is this is something you just can't stop, that it's in your blood and in your
well,
DNA.
I think you're right. It's kind of like when you think about you look at Warren Buffett at 94 with his billions of dollars and getting up, putting a suit on every day and going into work.
Yeah,
It's compulsion, right? It's just something that is inside you. I
yeah,
think passion. A lot of it for me was about, oh, I just get excited. And I've been like that all my life. I was so lucky to be born with like a half full kind of guy, and not a half empty guy. And I think that goes a long way with people. I would say that the one thing that we all require to do a really good job is passion. How we really love something. It's not even work. It's just really, can I do this? Can I do it well? And
yeah,
so that kind of is the motivating. My thing was with the book was, well, there was a couple things. One, it was a good way to it was a good hobby. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend anybody writing. Maybe not a book for the world to see, but even for themselves, it's very therapeutic, and it
mm, mm.
it it takes a lot, and you look at things and you think about it, and you hope you've matured from some of these situations you might have wrote about, and it's actually a great thing for anybody to do, I think. But I
as
wanted to,
as as an exercise. Hmm.
yeah, I
Hmm.
think it is. And um well, I actually know it is. It was for me, because I felt really good about it when I finished. When I finished the book, I kind of thought, Well, we made 40 million people dance. That's the one that jumped out on me.
Which
And
one?
uh,
Repeat that.
we made 40 million people dance and
Oh,
have a
over
good
the
time.
years. Yeah.
The years over our 40 odd years in the business and all the clubs we had and the things we did. And so I looked at my life as, you might say, well, he's in the nightclub business selling booze and, hanging out and doing things, but we brought pleasure. We were like the pleasure givers. We made so many people happy and feeling good. And I
Yeah.
and that I took that away with me
Mm,
when I wrote the book, which was kind of a kind of a cool thing, I think, to pull. I when I originally wrote it, it was for my grandkids to say, well, how did we leave Canada and get here and end up here, and
right.
and I didn't want it coming in little dribs and drabs and pictures. So I thought, well, I could write a story while I'm alive, and I still got a really good memory about things, and so I'm going to write a story and kind of make a memoir of it.
Hmm,
And as I was doing it, I realized I wasn't just writing it for my grandsons. I was writing it for many people. I wanted to write a book that gave inspiration and hope
right.
and feelings that, hey, everybody can do it. You can do it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say before that this book, Party Boys, is written by Lon Ballinger, is actually a combination memoir and how-to business book in a way, because I haven't read a lot of business books. I will admit, I'd probably be a bit of a better businessman if I had. But one thing about it is it's not going to be about accounting and about employment process and retirement. It's more about like here are how to put heart into your business, something that's not usually included in a business book, but in a way it does talk about that what's missing, what you feel is central to running a business is heart. And so it was a refreshing type of book in that regard.
Yeah, I kind of deliberately did that. That all goes along with that my whole book and about, I feel I had two business lives, the one in Canada and then the one in New York. And one in New York, I came in a much more mature and level-headed man than the one that left Toronto.
Hmm.
And um, you know, I I realized how that benefited me, and keeping calm and cool and paying close attention to details was really important. But mostly it was the human stuff, that
Yeah.
that was always coming up and I was always dealing with and managing people personalities. So um, I thought that it would be a great thing to describe. I wanted to not tell young people how to make money so much. They're going to do that on their own, I guess, with what they choose to do. But how to treat people along the way and what's more important at the end of the day. It won't be all that money in the bank. It'll be the friends and the trail you left behind you that's going to make more of an impact. We can only all
It doesn't make headlines, but it does, I guess, give you a certain amount of peace of mind and
totally.
also a positive sense of reflection on the work you created and you did. And so it's a kind of a trade-off in that way. I mean, there are other club owners whose name were in the headlines more than the Ballinger brothers. But look
Oh yeah.
what else
Well,
they had to live with in their legacy.
I think that was we knew that going in. We were seasoned when we came into New York. We knew that don't set yourself up as a target. Nobody wants to hear how successful you are and how smart you are and how creative you are. They don't really care. That they it kind of annoys people too. So
Yeah.
so you're better off I recognized very early just to keep my mouth shut and to listen to people and to pay really close attention to trends and what people were saying to me, because they weren't talking to me for no reason at all. They were trying to tell me something, and I'd be smart if I stopped and listened to them. So I wanted to get that message across to people, to young people, how important it was to let people talk, because most of them, they just wanted to get it off their chests, they just wanted to say it, and but they really respected you for at least listening to, you know and
Yeah.
that was it. That was the idea.
Well, you guys, you really did have an ear to the ground, and you changed with the times. You were open to different trends that were in the music business and the clubbing business, etc. But that really just takes a lot of also, first of all, liberal thinking, but also risk taking on a level that you don't hear about too often. I have a question around that concept that I just described, and that is, you guys, meaning you and your bros,
Hmm.
literal brothers in this case,
Yep.
grew up dirt poor
Yep.
in on a farm in farm country in Canada, in
Hmm.
guessing Eastern Canada,
Yeah.
and you end up I think about some of the farmers, not all. I don't like to generalize too much, but I think about some of the more conservative way of thinking among farmers up here, where you and I both live. And then I think about running a nightclub and being on the edge of hip hop, being on the edge of the DJ, culture, and the dance culture, and the ever changing thing that is. And I'm like, how do these things connect? How does that kid from farm country end up being that guy? I can't quite put it together. But the book does. I'm being a devil's advocate because you do talk about just that process of how you grew in here, but I want to hear it from you now.
Well, I think that it was our parents. We weren't really, like, our parents weren't farmers and their parents farmers. They moved up to the way up into the country to get their boys out of the city, their little boys and their daughter out of the city. And I think that was the start of it. But my dad was always a hip guy. He dressed cool. He wore nice clothes. He worked in the city, and I
Okay.
think that had a big impact upon us. That kind of a thing. And we were very wide open. There we weren't there wasn't we weren't raised with religion. We were raised more with following the rules and behave yourself, and wait your turn, and those kind of things.
Hmm.
That were really important because there were so many kids and so little money and things, that you really had to appreciate any little thing that happened. So I think that had a big impact upon us. And I never remember in my whole life feeling like I was lesser than or different than. I always remember being kind of able to speak my mind, and even if I got a scolding, somebody listened to me at least. So I had that opportunity, and I think my mother too. I wrote extensively about her because she was a real character, but she had
Yeah.
a huge impact on us. I always called her one of the early women's liberals. She was early on that she demanded her rights, and I remember my whole life her saying, "I should have been born a man," and like, well, mom, I didn't know how to. I was a kid, so okay, but she had a huge impact because she of her kind of bravery to stand up and to question things. And I think that always went along. I remember her. We were in this country high school in 1964, and the kids started growing their hair long like the Beatles, and the teachers and the whole system and the government got their arms up, and well, I don't know why they did, looking back on it, but they did. And so my mother signed a letter saying my sons can grow their hair as long as they want. and
Wow.
so the only kids in the school that could walk around with long hair, because the other parents were, they're not going to do that. So I think that kind of life and that kind of thinking. And, that I really tried to articulate my early years well so that people would get an understanding. I thought that in my book was very important to let people know, well, this just didn't happen by accident. This happened by kind of a bunch of circumstances that came together. The moment I walked into my first disco, I said, we could do this. And we
Right.
were off places. So and we got in early, and we were always looking to be I never wanted to be the lead guy. I wanted to be right behind the lead guy, because I got it. He was making it work. And if I could get in there quick enough to behind him, then I could put my own little touch on it, and we could put our own little touches on it, which was sort of interesting. And there was a whole new world order. I remember growing up when the boys stood on one side and the girls stood on the other, and people danced. But by the time we got young, everybody was dancing and doing their own thing, and that was so exciting and liberating and invigorating, to see that. So I'm a real positive person on the world and moving forward, and I wanted the book to go along with that type of thinking. It's okay to make mistakes. Just
It's
don't.
inevitable, right?
Yeah, and don't run from it. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't hide it. You made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. Just don't do it again, or try
Or
your
it's
best.
and it's a matter of what you take away from the mistake, right? What you've learned, what you think about it, kind of look at it as an opportunity to learn.
Absolutely.
I
I
mean, you
always.
do talk about that in the here.
Yeah, it's very important to give young people hope and inspiration, and to know that they can do it. But you have to stick at it. It's like writing a book. I tell you what was difficult too was writing that book. It took me 2.5 years of really thinking
Wow.
about working on it, because you're writing a memoir. What's going in, what's not going in, is that right, is that wrong, am I really saying it the way it was, as correctly as I can? So I wanted to make it kind of a true book, and I wanted it to be a book that ages well, and as we go through life, we look back. This, to me, our stage was really the golden era of nightlife. It changed.
Totally.
Once the internet came along, once the iPhones came along, then the nightclub business was over. We
Yeah.
used to see some outrageous behavior, and we'd look at each other and shrug our shoulders and walk away. And know that it's gonna be okay. And it was. 99.4% of the time, everything was fine. But the internet and cameras and recorders, it's just completely tossed that whole ideology on its ass.
Right.
So I
No
wanted
more
to.
discretion.
Yeah, definitely. I used to think about some of the awful language that the kids would use on the security, and I'd go, "Oh my God, you would never work again if you use that kind of talk." I'm glad for many of the improvements that came along with it, but I'm sad for some of the freedoms that got lost. And sad in a good way. I mean, I'm I'm I like things being fun and good, but
Sure.
but there's no longer would you see a little Filipino nanny leading a billionaire CEO around the dance floor by his nose. That's not going to happen anymore. So that kind of stuff
Well,
is gone.
maybe at the Stewart House. You never know.
Yeah, well, we still have that spirit.
The Stewart House, which is such a great spot with so much happening, is right in my town. It's right in the village of Athens. It's fantastic. But just so people get a sense of what we've been talking about, you guys, you meaning you and your brothers, were club owners. You, as you alluded to earlier, you were in a club in, I don't know if it was in Toronto or a smaller, I think probably a smaller city,
Yeah,
right in
it was
Ontario, and you said,
Kitchener,
oh,
Waterloo area.
and you said, "Oh, I could do this. I think we could do this." And then
No, I did.
you,
What that happened in Texas when we sold the pizza place. We
oh,
had
oh, right, you
uh,
had the pizza places first. That's right.
yeah, we had kind of a history. we go right back to selling those raffle tickets when we were kids.
Yeah, right. You guys
and
were
and
entrepreneurial
and
from the start. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's what I think that was in the back of my mother's mind, that she gave us the idea that we were going to work for ourselves. Well, actually, my older brother did that when he was a kid and the teacher was yelling at him about school
You're cutting out because you're moving around.
education, and he said, "I'm going to be, I'm going to be working by myself." He said. So let me get back here.
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit when you were moving around.
All righty. I'm going to turn this up.
Oh, your umbrella.
Yes, my son was getting.
That's great. Yeah, we are in the beginning of the summer right now. So
Yes, it is. It's so beautiful. Let me
I
show
know.
you where I live here.
Well, wow. Are you what area are you in?
I'm in. I'm just bordering on. I'm in Westchester, North Westchester,
Oh,
and uh, I have 14 acres of land. My wife and I have been here 30 years. We raised our kids here, and
beautiful.
we had a great life.
Yeah,
I guess I was about an hour from the city. So that coming home every night after work, I came home every night after work because, it gave me a chance to chill and cool off
sure.
and think about the day and get ready for the next day. And, um, and so, we just decided to stay here living. Our kids dropped by. We got 4 grandkids now. So, between here and the Stewart House, we keep ourselves pretty busy with
It
stuff.
sounds like it. Yeah, sounds like
Yeah, we've
um
had a good run.
I'd say so. But so how much of the time are you up in Athens?
Well, Lois is there mostly,
I see.
running it. When we after I sold Webster, I said to Lois when we decided to buy it, this was her project more than it was mine. I'm her supporter and biggest fan, and
Right.
I'll give good advice when it's asked for. But for a couple to try to live together and get along well, you can't have two chefs in the kitchen.
Sure. Yeah.
So we know that she ran this big home and our family and all the activities that went on here. So that's what the Stewart House is kind of being like, her home and her family and her 9 bedrooms instead of 5 bedrooms,
Hmm.
and the river grill. And you notice how the staff stays and seems to be part of the whole culture that we've created there. And
As a matter of
that's
fact, as a
yeah
matter
that
of fact, my Christina, who my partner who lives in Athens, her daughter, I believe, is working at the Athens house this summer. She just got into from school last night, and I believe she's going to be working for Lois
oh
all summer.
well, she's going to have a great time, and hopefully she just loves it there and enjoys herself too. That just tell her to enjoy herself and
I
do it.
will.
Keep a smile on her face, and we'll all be happy.
It's good.
You know, I always thought we had the greatest jobs in the world. If you
You may have.
Well, because you get to make people happy. You get to be, oh, thank you. That was delicious. That's such a nice thing to hear. So it
Yeah,
goes both ways. They
right,
think, look what I did for you. Well, look what you did for me. And,
right. How many people that visited? How many years did you guys own Webster Hall?
we were there from 1988 till I sold it in 2017 to the music.
Amazing, right? What a run you guys had. And do you think about how many people who walked through the doors, walked out, and had a nice ending to their evening because they met someone special that night for
Oh,
that just maybe
yes.
just for that one night, maybe for a weekend, maybe for a lifetime.
Yep.
We don't know, but think about how many evenings after Webster Hall people went home and continued the party that because
Oh, yes, and
the
even all that
Ballinger brother.
music I made too. I know they
Oh,
drove
right.
around in their cars and played it at their parties and things. Oh, I'm really proud, Adam, of what we did. I do think of that a lot. Just like I never I never took. for granted that people were going to come. I was so glad they did, and I guess subconsciously I knew they would. But I used to always say to myself, they could have gone anywhere, but they came to my place, and that was really important for me to remember. That's why the thing that I'm really most proud about for Webster Hall and why I think it lasted so long was because everybody was welcome. We weren't just for the privilege. We didn't pick and choose. We just asked you to have patience with us and we'll get to you. And our only rule ever was with anybody, including staff, and to this day, behave yourself. And you know what I mean. Just do the right thing. Don't do anything that's going to get me to lose my liquor license or get into trouble with police. And if you can do that for me, I'll do my best to give you the best time I can, you know? And that's the way that we treated our staff. I'm always proud of the staff we had at Webster Hall because they didn't leave us. We had 30, 60, there was there for over 10 years, 15 years, because it was like it was like it was safe. It felt
That's
good.
not that's unheard of in the I don't know if people know this. That's like unheard of in the service industry, right? It's
Well, because
or hospitality, whatever you want to call
but you know what the big thing is in the hospitality business? Everybody strive, not everybody, but 99% of the people strive to be exclusive. I'm the best. We're the best, and I didn't really like that vibe. I like it that let's everybody get together. And it turned out, I mean, we had 3,000, 4,000 people a night inside Webster Hall, and they came from every walk of life, and they all enjoyed themselves. There were so few altercations or fights or anything like that. They know we didn't like drug use. There wasn't any of that stuff. That was one of the behavior self rules. And I think that went a long way. The police knew that we would give them a real answer when they asked us a question. And if they didn't like something we were doing, we'd do exactly what they told us to do because they were the police and they were in charge. And they could take our liquor license away from us just by walking into the office and picking it up off the wall. And we'd be out of business until we had to go to court and fight to get it back. And I wasn't going to go through that. And I never wanted to have the arrogance of look how cool I am, look how sophisticated we are. I just wanted to have fun and keep the party rolling. I was more interested in what's coming, what's next. And because we had all those multiple rooms at Webster Hall, we were able to sample stuff. We were
it.
into
Right.
hip hop in 19 right off the bat when we got open.
Yeah.
We knew this is coming.
Right.
This
Yeah.
this is not I wanted to share the club with everybody.
Right.
I I I
You
also
can so in other words, you can start use one of the smaller rooms, let's say, which were pretty big, probably is my guess. But I was there many times over the years. But I mean, you could use one of the small rooms to try, start, see what was beginning, and then as it grew, you could move it up into larger rooms. You could do that
yes,
in all, it was perfect spot.
yes. That's
Yeah.
why, and when we switched over to the live music format in about just after the millennium, we were able to start an act in the small room, and then we could move it up into the middle sized room, and then when it hit the big room, they were superstars, and they were gone. They were
Right.
on their way for forever.
Launched. Launched.
They were launched, but they always remembered us and came back. And all their roadies worked for us. All the guys would go on tour. And the roadies, you know how important they are for a band. So they'd all come and work for us. So all the big bands, My Chemical Romance, Metallica, all those bands, they wanted that. Oh, let's play Webster Hall. And because it was kind of it wasn't about the money, it was about the vibe.
Right.
And
Well, then
even
again, the name of the book is called Party Boys: How the Ballinger Brothers Built the Best Nightclubs in the World. And there it is, and it's available on Amazon.
yeah, that's it.
The
And
just
I
you
and
can
I'm
pick
going
it up. It just well, just Google it. I guess you can order it wherever books are sold online.
and Adam, I've decided. I told my wife. I told Lois, I'm going on a book tour for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I don't care where it is, a taxi door opening. I'll show up with one of my books.
got it. The opening of an envelope.
Yeah, they open an envelope. I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have fun and enjoy
Oh, that's nice.
my time. And as I think, the book will just, it hopefully just gets better in time because it'll be written by a guy who was right in the trenches and really did feel the impact of it. It won't be written by a historian looking back on it.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think it'll age well, and
Sure.
all the lessons that I tried to teach, and you saw every little chapter. I tried to put a little something there, and it was about just kind of like I think it's a book for schools. I think that a business school should have it
Oh,
as
yeah.
because every chapter has a little lesson in it about some mistake and how we rectified it and how we moved on or how we dealt with it or how we accepted it and built it into the infrastructure of your life and so that's kind of how I see the whole thing moving along and rolling out.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about the book. And it was a real treat. And really look forward to hanging out with you at the Stewart House this summer, or at the River Grill or something like that when you're on one of your
Yeah.
trips up there.
Well,
Uh,
I thank you for inviting me, for being kind enough to have me on your podcast too, Adam. It's great. I have a lot of respect for folks you entertain and do your best to give people new things to think about. And thank you very
right.
much.
My pleasure. And also, I was a neighbor of, I lived on 15th and 3rd Avenue for all the 90s. And so I found I was just seconds away from from Webster Hall. So it was really cool to meet you, and I couldn't have expected such a thing. But anyway, thank you very much for those kind words. And we'll we'll be running into each other very soon.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
for sure.